Welcome back to Howling Week on Movies After Midnight. I'm your host, Evelyn. I am joined once again by Aaron, and
Hello.
we have made it to the Howling 4, the original Nightmare.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is like I said, we've kind of entered like anthology series territory now. We've hit. This is kind of a reboot. It's not like a direct
Yeah.
it's not like a direct adaptation of the original novel, but it is the objective with this movie was to like take the novel that the first movie was based on and adapt it a little, like be a little closer to the source material. Although it still, I believe it still definitely goes its own way. Also, this starts. We This film was written by Clive Turner, who we will hear more from in the Howling series later on. Um,
And it goes its own way, but it starts off with a howling staple. A group of nuns get into an elevator.
yeah, yeah. This time it's just also there's like a theme song. We have like our new wavy
Yeah.
theme music that came back.
Honestly, the soundtrack, impeccable.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, impeccable soundtrack.
So we are. Damn it, I wrote her name down, but like way later. So our main character, she is Marie. She's an author who she starts like hallucinating because she sees, like, she gets on the elevator with this nun, and then she goes to talk to her and like realizes that she wasn't actually there, and so she's been like having, yeah, apparently this is like a thing she's been dealing with, because then she meets with her agent, who has like the like an unnaturally deep voice.
And like, we have to just address it at the very beginning to get it out of the way.
Mm.
But the whole thing is ADR.
Yeah, I can't remember what the actual story was, but yeah, there was some reason like all their audio got fucked up, and so they had to like ADR all the dialogue in the movie, so it feels
And I'm
like
gonna
a
be so
foreign film.
honest, it's literally horrendous. It's awful, but it's not necessarily the film's fault. So you just gotta move past it. And after a minute, you kind of just get used to it and you kind of can just suspend the disbelief and it's fine. But it's definitely something to address at the top, for sure.
Yeah, you gotta take a minute to adjust, because it does.
Yeah, you do calibrate to
Like
it.
I said, you just start pretending it's a foreign film, and then you're like, okay,
Like a
this
spaghetti
dub
western.
job, yeah.
Or like an anime.
Yeah. Howling 4 is my favorite anime.
Howling 4 is my favorite anime.
We had time skips before, so we're in anime territory.
I mean,
So yeah, she has a freak out with her agent, and then we cut to her talking to her husband, who looks like he there's a musician he looks like, and I
he looks like Greg Sestero.
and he is played by Michael T. Weiss, who I guess is best known for like starring on the '90s TV show The Pretender. And then I was like, wait a minute, I've seen that guy before. But yeah, he just looks very like rough and scraggy. Like he's got the
Yeah,
'80s hair and the facial hair.
he's honestly he's like pretty cute. But they did this thing with all the male actors where they give them like vague British accents,
Mm.
and I found that incredibly off-putting.
That's yeah. I don't know this, but I'm wondering if like when they did the ADR, if they couldn't get all the actors to come back, so if like a few people are voiced by people that definitely
Oh,
weren't the actual performer.
which would make sense, for sure.
But yeah, we get so again, this is a setup that kind of is similar to but slightly different than the first movie, because we get another thing where they prescribe, like, you need to like take some time off and go, instead of sending her to this like like psychology camp. Uh,
Psychology.
they're like, you should go, take some time off and drive into the country. So the two of them drive to this. They buy a cabin in this like off the beaten path little town.
Which every single werewolf wants to live off grid in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I feel like being a werewolf in the woods is a lot easier than being a werewolf not in the woods.
A werewolf in the big city.
For example, like being
Oh,
an American werewolf in like London.
That sounds like it would be really hard. I wonder. I want to see a werewolf take Manhattan.
What was the sequel to an American Werewolf? Was it in Paris?
No, I think that's just the Gene Kelly. I thought it was literally just an American Werewolf in Paris too. An American Werewolf in London, the second one.
Fievel's American Werewolf Journey West.
Fievel's a weremouse.
See that's what I want to see. Like we were talking about, like what if someone was a were creature but they turned into like something that was completely non-threatening? Like that's where we got
like a were goldfish.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, like a were cow or like a were
cow. Moo.
A were like a were. They're not a werewolf. They're just like a were chihuahua or something.
This is my pitch. Okay.
Okay.
This is my pitch. A cow gets abducted by aliens. They do alien stuff to the cow.
Okay.
They drop the cow back. It is now a were cow.
Okay, shit. So it has to learn how to be human.
Havoc. It has to learn how to be human, and it has to kill all the other cows. That's my pitch.
Also, I feel like.
What do you think?
Depending on if you're, I feel like because if you're, you could go some way, because if it's a man who turns into a were cow, then you're also doing this like gender breakdown.
Oh my god! A man and a cow get abducted.
Oh damn.
Pitch. They get merged, and then they become the were cow.
We're filming this.
And there's a prophecy that all the were cows have to hunt the were marsupial.
Oh no, we're back to Howling 3.
Cow versus marsupial.
We're just totally disrespecting Howling 4. We're like...
You're right. Well, I mean...
This is
But what were you saying?
This is why you don't record multiple podcast episodes in one sitting. You just get loopier progressively.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they drive out to the country, and there's like this. It's like a lower budget version of the intro from The Shining, where they're like in the. Oh yeah, because she doesn't drive out with her husband. She drives out.
Oh yeah.
With her agent, because there's a little tension there of like, her husband doesn't like her agent because he's a like handsome guy that she works with.
Evelyn texted me. We watched this one separate, and Evelyn texted me and said, "Oh no, what normal white guy is she gonna fall in love with?"
Yeah, it's like the like Hunger Games or something. Like which generic white man?
Which one?
Also, I was like, I like how there's kind of the conflict between like because the first movie, talked about like the conflict between primal nature and civilized nature or whatever, and now we've got the conflict between like the rough, unkempt husband and the more clean-cut professional, what's his name?
Agent. I don't remember his name.
I think his name's
Honestly,
Tom.
I thought he was gonna be in it more than he was.
Yeah,
He kind of just disappears.
Yeah, well, because I kind of thought he was going to fill the role that the camera guy did in the first movie, where he, like, shows up at the end. But he did not. So, yeah, they arrive. There's, like, a cop that...
It was a surreal scene. And I think this scene, Evelyn pointed out something wonderful that I want to articulate on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Evelyn described the pacing of this as like playing an RPG game. I really felt that in the scene with the cop.
Yeah, like it feels like right now on Twitch I'm playing through a bunch of the like Nancy Drew adventure games, and literally it's paced out exactly like that, where like, you know, you arrive and then you like see some stuff and then it's like really slow because you're looking for like new places where items are, and then like you talk to
Mhm.
someone and they drop a few more plot points on you, and like it's paced exactly like that. So Howling point and click, that's my pitch.
That is, we'll do a point and click about the were cows.
Oh, it's all coming together.
And we'll use Final Draft to do the interactive
Shit, that
story out. I'm just kidding.
uh
Final Draft isn't paying us. We can't talk about it.
you guys heard it here first. Be on the lookout for Legend of the Werecow.
The Legend of the Were Cow.
Or just no, you need to just title it Moo with an exclamation point. But yeah, so there's a cop there that's just really hostile for no reason. He's
Yeah, he's just an asshole for. He's like,
you're not
what are
from
you guys
around
doing
here,
here?
are you? I'm like,
Who are y'all here to see? What's your business here? State your business or prepare to get winged.
um, but yeah, so that's when they get to the cabin and there's like the conflict between the guys, and she's like, I forgot. So she starts pretty much immediately as soon as she gets to this house that's kind of like out in the woods. She keeps hearing like howling in the distance. She keeps hearing the howling for the original. Oh no, Aaron, are you being haunted by a ghost?
I think I just heard some howling and then the light
Oh
flickered.
no! If
And
there
oh
is,
my god, I'm like turning into a werewolf.
if you see a nun, you
kidding.
need to get out of there.
If I see a nun, I need to.
But she keeps hearing these like woodland creature noises, and she's like, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "Oh, you were probably just hearing the animal in me," because they're like, you know, making out and stuff.
Because they're like, yeah,
And I'm like,
they're
okay,
like
but
doing the deed.
but
Which, like, I gotta tell you, I didn't really feel the chemistry between the two of them
yeah,
in the way I have felt the chemistry in all the other ones.
mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, because I was gonna say, comparing him to the husband in the first movie, there's like there's like a clear arc in the first movie where like he's a very healthy guy and like he does care about her, but he like slowly descends into like, you know, kind of looking at this other woman and like eating meat before he finally like, you know, like has sex with this other woman and like becomes a werewolf. And so it's like a decline where you see like him giving in, like being a good person who like gives into all these urges and is corrupted, whereas like the husband in this movie, he's just kind of like a bad person from the start, and so like
Yeah.
their relationship is like a lot more conflicted from the start too.
And he doesn't feel as active for sure.
Yeah, even though he's in
Do
the
you
movie
think?
a
Oh,
lot
I remember
more.
what I was gonna ask. Yeah, I remember what I was gonna ask. Do you think that the original two being husband and wife in real life made a difference? Do you think?
I can imagine performance wise at the very least it probably like affected how they played that dynamic and everything.
More actors get married challenge. I'm just kidding.
But who wants to
I was
marry
just
an
curious.
actor? That's the question. um uh So yeah, so they like they spend their first day in town, and this also felt like an adventure game where like they kind of meet each like quirky group of people individually. There's like, so they go to the store and there's like this weird couple, and I think at that point I mentioned they feel like Twin Peaks characters a little bit, where there's like
Yeah.
the store owners, like the lady and her husband, and they're like kind of friendly but weird.
And I think that like small town dynamic definitely carries through too.
Yeah. Although that, I think that is like, once this movie gets going, I think that is what I liked about this movie, where there's a palpable sense of like that, like, you know, something is going on here and you know it's hidden, and it's like it's very like a slow burn kind of mystery. and like the way these people come off immediately like sets that up of like there's a dynamic in this town that like they don't want outsiders to know about, and so they're like not sure what to do with her.
No, that makes a lot of sense. My favorite town character was the gossip lady. She
Yeah,
was wearing blue.
yeah.
She cracked me up. I loved her.
And then I get kind of taking the same. She's not nearly as cool, but there's the same like spooky hot lady who's part of the town that the husband sort of starts going for.
We're back to our spooky hot ladies. We kind of lost them in Howling 3.
Which again, like that's where you can tell that this is based off the same book as the first one, because it's like the same archetype serves the same. Like you can tell they're the same character. Yeah, and the sheriff's dick again, because we need to establish that. Like he walks in and gets his cigarettes and just kind of like glares at him.
Well, and they even have a conversation about it. They're like, "Is he always like that?" They're like, "Yeah, he pretty much is."
And then so yeah, then like after we
also I just want to also add they do have a dog as well. There's a little dog.
yeah, which like we establish a little after that, she's like talking to her husband, and she's like, I can't remember the dog's name.
Toast.
What's that?
Because the dog was Toast.
But she's like, I haven't seen him. I think he's like missing, and the husband's like kind of a dick about it. He's like, is like I don't know, like because
he's like, it's just a dog.
Yeah, well,
he's a dog.
Yeah, well, this gets into because I remember specifically, we praised the first movie for how like her like trauma and like what she was going through was treated very seriously by the characters. Like everyone was like, you know, she was like, I heard something or I saw something, and people were like, oh wow, she's like, you know, we're gonna look into this, we're gonna make sure she feels safe. Whereas like there wasn't any like, oh, is she gonna make everyone believe her because everyone thinks she's crazy? And like this movie pretty much immediately sets that all up.
But then it's like kind of frustrating a little bit too, because it's like it's extremely gaslighty.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
which again I think like is supposed to. Yeah, it's definitely supposed to set up like the town versus her, where they're like, yeah. Because yeah, then she's talking to the gossip lady at the store, and yeah, I can't remember what gets brought up, but she's like, oh well, it's probably nothing. It's probably fine. You should probably get home. Haha. And she's like, oh, thanks for being so nice. You're really nice. Also, did you notice there's a lot of Coca-Cola product placement in this movie?
Okay, I am so glad you brought that up, because I did write that down. They got a check from Coke, I think.
That like, they had to. There's too much overt.
Like I would be shocked.
Yeah.
It was giving, I go to so-and-so school, and this is my movie.
That's what this was.
It was giving Coca-Cola Foundation project.
But I every time I saw it, I was like, man, I could go for a nice, refreshing Coca-Cola beverage right about now.
I wish I had a crispy Diet Coke right now.
But so yeah, the like she talks about some of the like howling she's hearing, and the lady at the store is like, oh well, there's nothing here. You're fine. Get out of here. Lol. And then she passes, like in the woods, she passes the spooky hot lady, and she's like, oh well, you should take this shortcut, which I think is supposed to be, she was like trying to like get her to go someplace where she would like die or get lost, but she goes to this cave, and this is where it also really felt like an adventure game, because literally it's like one of those things where like there's not really a lot of plot development, but it's like you have to go here to find a specific item that like sets things up.
It really, yeah, you know what? You saying that, it really does feel like an RPG. It
Yeah.
feels like a very, like, and I think the audio is a part of this, but I think the pacing contributes to it as well. It's a very uncanny valley movie where
Yeah.
things are going a little too slow and the audio's a little too, you're like, I'm moseying on through, but it doesn't feel real.
Yeah. And she
You know?
yeah, yeah. And like there's a lot of these where she like sees a little like head, like the severed head of her dead dog, and she like runs back home because she can hear like a werewolf. And then she's like, oh my god, I saw a severed head. And her husband's like, oh, you probably didn't, you probably made it up.
Which there was a shot in the like cop scene when he first stops them, and I don't know what it was about how they shot the dog in that scene, but I was like, that dog is done.
Yeah.
That dog is not making it to the end of this.
Not like the dog in Friday the 13th too.
Exactly, and it was like an ugly white dog, one of those ones.
Yeah, I used to know what those are called.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're called. They're called like the ugly white dog on TikTok.
I've been referred to as an ugly white dog before.
Ugly White Dog is my punk band.
That's my rap name.
That's my rap name, Ugly White Dog.
And she has more hallucinations because now like she sees not only the nun but she sees this old couple, and they're like, you have to get out of here, and she's like, what the fuck, that's weird. And this is actually when I kind of like became more invested in the movie, because this other girl shows up and is like, oh, I heard you were here and I'm a fan of your books, and they start talking, and this other girl reveals that she used to be a nun, and her like one of her friends from the convent came here and like saw something that fucked her up and like kind of went crazy and died, and so she's like coming here looking for answers. And like that was like my buy-in, because we get what's her name, Marie, and the this other girl. Like I don't know if there was anything really strong, but I was like, I like the idea of like these two come, because she's like the first person, like they both have kind of like these theories that no one else takes seriously, and so like they come together as like each other's support. And so I was like rooting for them as like friends kind of.
Well, and it was kind of nice to have her because I mean, she's set up so isolated in this like really shitty relationship.
Yeah.
And like there's only a bunch of men around her, so it felt nice that was like the vibe.
Yeah, well also I feel like we even kind of get that contrast, because the first time she meets her, it's contrasted with I can't read my own handwriting.
That's real.
She with because her husband goes out to hook up with this other lady, which again, like, it's in the first movie it was partly portrayed as like, you know, the werewolf magic kind of like compelling his baser instincts, and in this he's just
he's just like, hell yeah. And also, like, okay, I will say, hated how it was shot.
Oh yeah.
They like have her shadow on the wall and she's like on top of him and whatever, but like the camera's a little too left, so it's kind of giving the room where you can just see that they're kind of off kilter.
Yeah,
you are my rose, you are my rose.
That's a thing I've noticed a lot of movies seem to struggle with. The more I,
it's like, we don't need to see any humping. We don't need to see the bumping and grinding. We get it. Cut away.
Well, actually, I pointed out, like, because that actually happens later, because I don't think we see their first, like, hookup.
Yeah.
But that scene...
I, like, jumped to the one that disturbed me.
Well, it was funny to me that scene, which is a lot more, like, conventionally, like, sexual, I guess, was probably the least sexy thing in any of these movies, even compared to, like, the weird werewolf sex scenes we got in the first two.
That's real. I feel like it just feels like it. I feel like, hear me out. I think that's because the second one does this thing where it does show you a lot, but it doesn't show you everything. And so it's in your mind. I think you need to be Hitchcockian when you show sex.
I mean, they
Where,
showed us
like,
a
you
lot.
imply it and then, like, stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or yeah, I guess either, either
Just because
imply
then it's
or,
like whatever the individual person is thinking.
or go all the way. Like, if you're gonna show
Or
sex,
go all
show
the way and
sex.
shoot a
Don't have, like,
pornography.
awkward bumping and grinding.
I want to see full insertion in my movies.
Exactly.
More insert. More.
But yeah, I thought it was like a fun, or not fun, but like it was an interesting comparison because you have at the same time she's making this connection with this like good person who is beneficial to her. He's making this connection with this bad person who's like drawing him further down.
With a filthy harlot.
Which also I didn't even think about it until now, but literally because like the other girl like always wears these like very like mostly white outfits, and then the evil lady wears like all black, so it's like
So it's like, oh my god.
so yeah, we
I went to this. Can I side note under 30 seconds?
yeah, no, go for it.
So last night I went to this Macbeth performance. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And after Macbeth kills the guy or whatever, and then he washes his hands, he comes out and they had him dressed in all white. And I was like, oh my god.
That's good.
And I just had to say that now since we were talking about wearing white. Back to you, Evelyn.
I say this is another side I say out damn spot so much when I'm like cleaning things.
Honestly, that's a good line.
That's the most I was a theater dork in high school thing. Like
the theater kids never change, Evelyn. You have to accept your fate.
So then the next day we get more characters. These two like hikers show up, like this young couple who are like hiking across country, and they're like, we heard about this tower that like burned down years ago and we were gonna go see it, and then we got lost in the woods. And she's like, oh, that's crazy, I didn't know about that. And I can't remember, because she's like, oh, I could drive you into town, and they're like, no, we'll walk. And then on their way back, the two of them get killed by werewolves. Mm-hmm. And that's our first real... This is when the movie actually, like... Because it's very, like, slow burn. Like, it's lots of walking around and, like, talking to people. And so that's our first real, like, werewolf scene.
Which is super interesting, because I thought it was interesting how the very first one kind of did the same thing, where it kind of held out till the very end.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, it's definitely about building tension. And this movie doesn't do it as well as the first movie, but it does a decent job of that. Like, again, like once the two girls joined forces and started like really doing detective stuff, at least for me personally, that was when I kind of started buying into the movie a little more.
Have you ever seen Marty?
What about Marty?
Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
It's like this old, I think it's called Marty. It's this old movie, and it was like shot as a TV spot, like a TV version of it was shot, and then it was made into a movie, and then it won an Academy Award for Best Picture. It was like one of the first films too. And like it's the exact same thing, but like one is just a TV movie, one is like a film, or it's not a TV movie, it's like a TV, you know what I mean, episode. And like that, this feels like the TV movie to the first one's like theatrical release movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like same story, considerably less resources.
Yeah. And so when you say like the pacing was a little different, I completely agree, because that's, I think, how it feels to me.
Yeah. And we get a whole scene where her husband has started like hunting, which I was like, yeah, he's definitely not vegetarian like the guy in the first movie.
I don't eat meat.
And then there's also a bit where we like see that her nun friend is like really good at shooting for no reason in particular.
What do you think nuns do with their time? They sharpshoot train.
Yeah, that. But the two of them they're like, because she tells her about like, I've been having visions, because her friend shows her a picture of her nun friend that died, and I can't remember anyone's name in this movie.
I'm so bad with names in movies, if I'm being so real with you.
Marie is like, oh, that's the nun I saw in the elevator. That's weird. And so she like opens up to her and she's like, I've been seeing stuff, and I think it's like signs that something's going on in this town. And so they go to like check out that tower, and that's when the gossip lady, like, literally in the most awkward fashion ever, is like, oh, you don't want to go in there, it's like condemned and full of termites and it's a fire hazard, and you should just go home, you don't want to go in there.
The gossip lady, she just lays it on thick every single time.
And they're like, okay, well, I guess we can't go in. That also felt like a video game, where it's like an area that you haven't unlocked yet until like the story hits.
And every single time you walk over to that map, she says the exact same thing to you.
The exact same dialogue, and you have to like skip through it. But they also see this camper that they think belonged to the hikers, and it's being like towed away. And she's like, well, that's weird, because I thought they went back to town. And she like sneaks into this garage to like look for evidence, basically, and she finds these New York license plates, and the two hikers mentioned that they were from New York, so she's like, oh, they're hiding something. And that's important. Like, yeah, this is a movie where like
something.
What? Oh.
They're hiding something. I was just agreeing with you that was what the plot was. Oh.
But yeah, this is definitely a movie where like the MacGuffins aren't MacGuffins because they're actually important.
Yeah.
Because like.
Yeah, because I think this movie, at the end of the day, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
As it's very much, it's paced a lot more like an actual mystery, where they're like, finding evidence of things and trying to piece stuff together.
Yeah, because the first one had like a couple of moments like that, but the mystery was more of like the B plot, and the relationship breakdown was more of the A plot, whereas this one feels a little bit like the mystery takes the front facing, because the relationship's already so bad, there's not really much more you can really, focus on, except those snippets where he keeps making bad decisions.
Yeah. And we get a lot more like mystery stuff, because they go to the town doctor and like ask about the nun and how she like what condition she was in and everything, and then they go to, there's like a nearby town, and the like priest there talks about her and how she kept saying, what was it, we are in fear.
Yeah. And he was like, I don't know what she was saying, but it was creeping me out.
We all live in... I can't... Something like that. But...
We are not men. Like they found in Blood that one time on Hollywood Boulevard.
I just assume that's a Devo thing.
Maybe it was, honestly.
But... Yeah, and he, like, mentioned some stuff. Because they realize, like, the doctor's story about, like, where they found her doesn't line up, because like she was told they found her in the woods, and he's like, no, she was in this cabin, and they're like, huh, that's interesting. Because there's a lot of that, like they talk to someone or look at something and they're like,
so it really feels like, yeah, you're like, wow, add that to the notebook and let's go back to this other spot on the map to talk to this character.
And they're like, well, that's interesting. And yeah, this is where we get the like graphic sex scene, which there was a nice shot of like him, because like he walks up and he tells her he's gonna go out, and it's framed like you're seeing it from inside the fireplace. It was a kind of a neat shot, and I think
which it was kind of actually refreshing, because I feel like the Howling started off so strong with cinematography and just completely lost it.
We went off the rails with cinematography, for sure. Because also I
So it was
thought
beautiful.
like the fireplace, because then it goes to him like having unsexy sex with the lady, and I think
It is the most wooden, awkward.
it cut to oh my god, straight sex, ew.
He's just laying there stiff as a board. I don't. That's not. I mean, straight sex. That's just bad sex. Actually, no, I'm just kidding.
That's fair. Um, but it cuts back to the fireplace a few times, and I think it was supposed to like call back to the sex scene in the first movie and how they had like, you know, the campfire.
Well, and I thought it was super fascinating because, like, he seems annoyed with her, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like
Maybe he's
in
just
the
a
other
dick,
one.
like that's
He's just like a jerk
yeah.
with a kind of British accent.
Yeah. I would really be interested to know, like, someone who watched the TV show where he's like the main good guy, like what they think of this movie. But while they're doing that, Marie is like alone and she hears howling, and she takes his hunting rifle, and she sees a wolf outside, so she shoots it, and then like runs outside and shoots at it again, and that wolf being wounded, I guess because all werewolves are like connected or something, the lady like mid-sex like feels it and like yells in pain and stuff. And I think like the next scene we see,
And this is where like he seems like annoyed with her.
yeah, well that's, he gets home and I'm like, is he mad because he was like cock blocked by the werewolf pain?
Which is funny because it's technically would have been the second time he got cock blocked by the werewolf pain. Because earlier in the movie, it's like they're like on top of each other, and she's like, I hear howling, and he's like, oh jeez.
Yeah, well that's, I did notice that like being really horny is like his primary motivation in this like movie.
So he's just every man.
He's like, I want sex, and I'm really pissed off that I can't have more sex.
So he's just every man.
he's the representation of the worst in every man.
Move over, Ken from Barbie. There's a new guy in town.
I was trying really hard, and I don't think it's there, but I was trying really hard to see like a sapphic subtext in this, because he makes some comment where he's like, after like as her visions get more intense and stuff, he's like, oh, some bad dreams and a frustrated lesbian, and you're off on all these ideas, and I'm like
You're like,
because like you could read it as, because like the moment like the rift between her and her husband starts, there's not really like a male love interest, but a lot of focus is put on like the connection between her and this other woman, and like,
yeah, because the one you would get is that one guy, but he never shows up again. Her agent.
yeah.
That's kind of what they set up, but then you're right. They just kind of like switch gears. She's a bisexual icon.
Yeah, which like, I mean, also the two women in this movie give the strongest like we are literally platonic friends energy that I couldn't really, I couldn't insert anything, but like, why am I pronouncing words weird? Have you noticed that?
I think it's because we're getting loopy.
You know, you're right.
Oh my god, Evelyn, are you about to change into a werewolf right now?
I hope not.
Have the lights been flashing? My light just went out. I didn't do that on purpose. That was a complete accident. I'm just gonna leave my light out. My light's gonna be out the rest of the episode. Sorry, guys. Anyway, continue, Evelyn. Sorry.
Yeah, her husband's kind of pissed off because he can't have sex, and is like, "You're being weird. We're going back to town and stuff." And so she's like, you know, again, spending more time with her nun friend, and she has been off like actually doing shit this whole time, because she's like, I learned the bell in that tower came from a town in Romania where the tower burnt down because they burned it down to kill all the werewolves inside. And also there's this thing about like werewolves are a manifestation of the devil, I guess, in this movie.
Oh my god. That was so wild. They said, Philippe, we don't care about your little werewolf lore.
I love, yeah, we pivoted so hard from like maybe like were creatures are people too and shouldn't be hunted to werewolves are
Which,
Satan.
which that's another interesting thing. This film got super Catholic.
It is
I feel like
incredibly
none of them
Catholic.
have been super Catholic until this one.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, because like two had some of the like vampire movie tropes, you know, where he like chants in Latin to like throw crosses at people, but yeah, nothing like because this is like practicing Catholic. Like it's not just using the imagery. It's like there is a nun and a priest, and we're talking about exorcisms and like the Bible and uh, but then this is there's like a little bit of rift between the two of the girls starts cropping up now because the nun is like, are you still there? Oh, okay. I couldn't tell if the video froze or if
I
you
was
were
just
just staring at
dissociating.
something.
No, I was looking at my notes and I realized I forgot to bring up the weird baby note that I had.
In this one?
Do you remember when he's out in the woods and they're about to get him or whatever? I think it's like right about before he gets bitten or something, and he finds this like baby doll.
Oh yeah, because he found the baby doll and he brings it back and he's like, you just saw this doll's head and you thought it was our dog's severed head.
And then, but it's just like this weird baby doll that was out in the forest. I just forgot to bring that up, and that's what I was looking at just now on my notes. But continue back to where you were.
But yeah, so like because the nun is like, do you believe in werewolves? And Marie is like, no, that's literally insane. And there's kind of like, oh, okay.
Your sister is a werewolf. It's not true. That's impossible.
I miss Christopher Lee so much.
I miss him.
And also, we get more, because, like, she mentions to the doctor, she's like, I shot a wolf the other day, and the doctor's like, oh, really? Like very concerned, like he's concerned for the wolf. And then he's like, but there's no wolves out here. It was probably a coyote or something.
That's suspicious.
And then
that's weird.
Yeah, this is like because she's basically like she's kind of giving into the gaslighting at this point because she called the agent earlier and was like, can you look up these license plates for me? And he's like, oh, they belong to this person. And she's like, that's not the hikers' names. Maybe I was just making everything up and this is all in my head. And so she's like starts to kind of doubt stuff, and she's home with her husband, and this is when he goes out and he like sees the lady, and this is when she turns into a werewolf and bites him, which again is like this.
I'd like to cut in here and say these are my favorite werewolves we have gotten the whole time. I thought the werewolves looked great.
Yeah, we got a few different types of them too, but yeah.
And then that bite, yeah, he gets like bitten or whatever.
Like the movie, this is the thing. It's a slow burn, but it goes like 0 to 100 so quickly once the ball gets rolling.
Yeah.
Because she bites him, and he like goes back into the house, and he's like, and she's like, got him on the couch, and she's like, I'm gonna call the doctor. He's like, no, don't go out there. And you're like, okay, well now he's gonna believe her about the werewolves, and then like the next day he's like healed, and everyone's like, you're crazy. He wasn't attacked by a wolf. He just like fell on some rocks.
They really gaslight gatekeep girl boss her.
Yeah.
And then she goes in. It's so funny. She goes in and she's like, you fell or you were bitten. I know it. And she's like, I fell in a ravine. You're crazy.
Yeah, he's like very unemotional.
He's like hypnotized, kind of. I thought he was like hypnotized. That's how I read it. But I wanted to also ask what you thought.
Well, I don't think he was hypnotized. I think it's like in between then and now, like, the like werewolf magic like got to him, and the doctor's like, you're one of us now. This is the story you're gonna tell her. And he's like, okay. Like that was kind of how I read it.
No, that makes sense.
But yeah, so that's when I wrote at this point Marie denies the call after having answered it already, because she's like tells her friend, she's like, no, this was all insane, like we're not doing this anymore. I was just going off on whatever, and like she's her friend. I wrote it down. Janice is the other girl. Um, so and like Janice is really sad about that, and like so she goes off on her own, and she talks to the priest again, and finds out that her friend had borrowed a book about how to perform an exorcism from him. And she's like, that's weird. Why would she be trying to perform an exorcism? And while she's off investigating, we do get the girl's agent, Marie's agent, shows up, Tom, because she was like freaking out and called him, and now she's like, oh, it was actually nothing. And this I actually did, because he like sees an opportunity, I guess, and he like moves in to kiss her, and then her husband gets home and he punches Tom in the mouth, and I'm like, I don't like the husband, but like he was not in the wrong for doing that. I feel like
it's just real rich coming from a guy who was just letting some other girl ride him.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, he's
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's. I guess none of the men in this scenario are in the right. one man is.
Which I mean, let me tell you, Evelyn, they're acting like men.
Yeah.
That's correct. They're correct in that they're acting like how men act. It doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, mostly I just found it funny because that we're supposed to like. I feel like he's supposed to be the more sympathetic guy in this movie, and he's still like.
That's true.
I'm like, I don't know. She's still her husband's awful, but she's still married. I don't know if you want to.
Werewolves. Evelyn, did the Catholic messaging get into your head where you're like, we need to preserve the sanctity of this marriage?
He doesn't know that she isn't as connected to her husband at this point.
But what he knows is the touch of another woman. That's what I'm saying. So he only wants it one way? What, so he can, but she can't go get a little... She can't get some werewolf action?
Because
she can't get some agent action?
She doesn't know he's been getting werewolf action is the problem.
Do you think that she would have kissed him back? Or, wait. Did they actually kiss before?
No, he goes in for it and gets... Yeah. Because she is fine. I'm just... This other... Tom doesn't know anything that's been going on, so him going in for the kiss is like, he's in the wrong. That's where I'm coming from.
I see what you're saying.
Because Tom doesn't like. There are things you could use to like. You could justify what he's doing.
I got my white guys confused just now.
That does happen. But yeah, because he any of the things that could justify him kissing her are things he doesn't know. But yeah, so that happened, and I like somehow her husband punching Tom immediately brings Tom on board with the werewolves theory for some reason.
He's like, I haven't punched a lot in my day, and that wasn't human.
And so him and the Janice, the former nun, end up working together now because he goes to talk to her and like ask what was going on, and he's like, yeah, the plates weren't from those hikers, they were from this other last name, and she's like, oh my god, that was my friend's last name, it was her plates.
Oh, and my god.
Big plot point drop. And it basically, we realized she was in town to like, she was trying to perform an exorcism on one of her parents because presumably one of them had become a werewolf. And that's where we get, because that's where she's like thinking about it, and she's like remembering when her friend was like, we live in fear, and she's like, she was actually saying werewolves are here. That was where my suspension of disbelief kind of dropped. I was like, no, And yeah, this is when we start going 0 to 100, because then
Yeah, it goes 0 to 100. It honestly, it turned into it was like the Halloween 2. She just like it just goes crazy. I will say though, I really liked all the werewolf transformations. I thought it
yeah,
was sick as fuck. I
we're
thought they were
about
cool.
yeah we're about to, because so the husband is like off in the woods and Tom is driving, and I think it's supposed to be like his hatred for Tom like accelerates his wolf transformation. Do you like how I physicalized wolf transformation?
His wolf transformation.
So he like
You did it like you were a wizard willing like a wolf transformation.
I was like, these are my claws.
These are my.
But so he like chokes him out and like rips his throat out or whatever. But then he like, this is the gnarliest werewolf transformation I've ever seen, because he just starts melting. Like,
It's so gross too.
I would say it's like, because I was saying it turns into like a goo movie. Like, I just learned goo horror is a subgenre. If you watch like Street Trash or something, but like it's like that, where like literally all his skin and everything starts melting off his bones, and there's like pus bubbling out. It's like,
Yeah, it's really gnarly.
it was. I mean, it was kind of cool, but I was not expecting that. And
Yeah, it was metal as hell.
it is interesting because she goes to him. Like she hears him yelling, and she sees him like starting to melt, and like his last words before he transforms are like, "You need to run," which I thought was interesting, because it's like, as far gone as he is, there's still like some level of concern for her, which is like,
He still cares.
yeah, it was interesting. Which, you know what? Maybe that was the Catholic
it's like
subtext in this movie. They're like, we can't allow the husband to be the bad guy.
We can't do it.
But yeah, so she like this was funny to me, because she runs into the town, and she like runs into a building and sees a lady who's like a werewolf. So she just runs back out of the building and closes the door, and it was a very like Scooby-Doo moment.
It was incredibly Scooby-Doo. Yes. Oh my god.
There's no follow-up of like that lady pounding on the door. It's just, oh, never mind.
Ruh-roh.
So then Janice shows up and is like, there were werewolves. And she's like, yeah, I know, there's werewolves. And she's like, we have to go to the bell tower, because that's how I guess something about the bell like compels werewolves to come to it if you ring it, and then you burn down the tower, and that's how you kill werewolves.
And let me tell you, that's what she does.
Yeah, well, I like, because so she's like, she goes to ring the bell, and like all the werewolves come, but at this point they're just like a pack of dogs. Like, they're not werewolves. They're just literally like, these are actual like trained dogs that they have in the movie.
Yeah.
And they start it. I was gonna be like, oh my god, Resident Evil, because they all start trumpet crashing through the windows.
It did. Okay, literally, it felt exactly like that Resident Evil 4 moment. When Leon is up there, and then everybody starts surrounding him.
It does. I was gonna say it felt like
It felt a lot like that.
in Resident Evil 1 when the dogs like crash through the window.
Oh, it does feel like that too. It feels like a mix of both.
Yeah. But yeah, so Janice is like, you have to set fire to the tower, and she's like, well, what about you? And it's like, she's like, I have to ring the bell. So it's like she's making the heroic sacrifice while Marie sets fire to the place. And then so she like she shoves a flaming rag into the oil tank of a truck and pushes it down the hill, and it just like blows the whole building up, and it's like this huge fiery explosion.
Yeah.
And all the werewolves are like burning.
So crazy.
And it's like again, 0 to 100. And then I'm like, man, I wonder how they're gonna end this. And there's like a werewolf jumps out.
Barbecue a bunch of werewolves.
A werewolf jumps out, and there's a reaction shot, and then the movie's over.
Yeah, it was bananas. I literally went and rewatched the ending, the last like 5 minutes, because I could have sworn I missed something, you know?
Yeah, well, that's because that was Because I wasn't on board with this movie at the start, but it got me interested by the end. And I was, like, really
I would agree with
invested.
that.
But I did, like, the ending kind of took me back out, because I was like, I would have liked, maybe some falling action, some denouement, maybe,
um, can we get some Vsauce set up in this bitch? That's what that just reminded me of. No, it's a really good point. Yeah, because even like a Ready or Not. Have you seen Ready or Not?
I
It's like a more recent horror film.
mean, yeah, I
And it's
know
like a
how
pretty
it
gnarly
goes.
like end, and it kind of ends on like very final moment is pretty much immediately tied to this like crazy climax, and you only get like a beat. But I think even a little beat at the end of this would have been a nice
Even
like
something, like,
you see the final girl covered in blood walking down the road.
yeah, or like,
That's all I need.
yeah, because I guess even, like, yeah, if you have her, like, maybe she walks down the road and then a werewolf jumps out at her, even that feels a little more, it's, just give us, like, a few more seconds.
Yeah, because I'm like, whoa, there's a fire and like everything's on fire and what's going. And honestly, it's very gnarly.
Yeah. It looks
It's
great.
good though.
Like, yeah, the
Yeah, it
effects,
looks
like,
super great.
pretty good, all things considered.
I think honestly, I think it's the best effects that we've seen so far. If I'm being so real,
You think, I thought,
I like it more than the first one.
really, I thought the effects in the first one were
I like
pretty.
the werewolf design more. I think.
Also, like, him melting into goo is pretty well done, all things considered.
Yeah, I thought that was excellent.
That again,
But
like,
yes.
that is not a version of a werewolf transformation I've seen before.
I gotta tell you though, it kind of turned into like every single Howling up until this point has been like kind of like a downer ending a little bit.
Yeah.
Where there's like a which I mean I guess there's kind of like that in this, but this felt like the Halloween 2 where like she just gets all this, she just beats shit out of this whole town, takes down this whole town. I was like, whoa.
I mean, except maybe a werewolf jumped out and killed her at the end. We don't.
Yeah, maybe that's why we don't get it, because it was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing death. It was a derpy death. She just does all this stuff and then a lone werewolf gets her, a rogue.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Does this mean? Do you think in the Howling universe that Little Red Riding Hood's like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood, is that like a werewolf?
Oh God.
That's gonna be my Howling movie.
That just made me think of Once Upon a Time, and how in Once Upon a Time Red Riding Hood is like a werewolf.
I didn't watch Once Upon a Time. I didn't watch
I had
that.
a roommate who watched a bunch of it at one point.
I don't like TV that much, Evelyn. It's not my preferred. TV is not my preferred medium, Evelyn. And I feel like Once Upon a Time is incredibly TV. You know.
It is one of the TV shows of all time.
I'd honestly rather be watching the Howling series.
Which is great, because I feel like I haven't seen any of the others, but I know, like, by the end we kind of cycle back into like Teen Wolf territory. So I mean, what is the Howling series but a TV show?
So we will see you for the next one.
Yeah, the Howling 5, and this is, yeah, we're off the beaten path now, because I knew a little bit. I had heard people talk about the first few, but like 4 onward, I have absolutely no idea what's coming. So we're in exciting territory now.
Heck yes.
So we'll see you next time for more Howling.
Bye.
Bye.
Ow!
Woo! Hey everyone, Evie here. If you enjoyed today's episode of Movies After Midnight, consider giving us the old like and subscribe so that you can stay up to date when we drop new episodes. If you didn't enjoy today's episode of Movies After Midnight, consider following me on one of the many social media platforms out there and leaving criticisms or strongly worded hate speech. Either way, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see you next time.